ClearView lets you configure and view trends of various time-sensitive performance metrics. Trends can be a powerful reporting tool. They can be built to compare customers, plants, and salespeople's performance over time to each other or to the average of all. For example, say you want to see who your top customers are based upon your scoring criteria. You can list them by week or month for a date range. You can see how well your dispatch is doing by comparing yards per truck or yards per driver hour by plant. You can see who your best performing salespeople are by volume, by mix price, or by revenue generated. Best of all, the data from the trends can be exported to Excel to allow you to build ad hoc reports that give you a window into the overall performance of your company. ClearView stores a myriad of customer, plant, and sales metrics to use in trends. The metrics that are common to all three are total dollars per yard. This is everything on the ticket except tax. All of the metrics in ClearView involving dollars are before tax. The mix price per yard, surcharges per yard, and extra products per yard. Gross revenue. This is the total revenue for the trend type before tax. Gross volume, and yards per driver hour. For customers, this is the total volume for a customer divided by the time spent on tickets for that customer. For plants, it is the plant volume divided by the driver time spent on tickets for that plant. And for sales, it is the volume of customers assigned to that salesperson divided by the time spent on tickets for those customers. Metrics in common for both customers and plants are unload performance. This is the total time spent under customer control from job arrival to pour in. Cubic yards lost is the volume represented by tickets that were voided, percentage of voided tickets, and number of voided tickets. Metrics that are exclusive to customers are average load size, number of order changes, number of canceled orders, percentage of canceled orders. The customer score is based upon criteria that you set up that weights the importance of the other performance metrics, and the customer score rolling average, the 1-year rolling average of customer score. The remaining metrics for the plants are average order size. Booked volume is the total volume of go and will call orders at the beginning of the day. Canceled volume, loads per truck, cubic yards per truck. On-time percentage is the percentage of the first loads for an order that are within 15 minutes of the scheduled arrival time. Percent productive is the percentage of driver time that is spent actually making a delivery. And the round trip factor. That's the round trip delivery times divided by the scheduled round trip time. To build a trend, from the My Office folder on the Navigator, select Trends. If you have set trends in the past, they'll be listed here. Select Build Trend. The Trends Management screen opens on the Setup tab. Enter the title of the trend you'll be building. For this tutorial, we'll build a trend called Average of All. We'll leave the company as the default. Next, we'll set the type of trend. This is where you tell ClearView if you want to build a trend for customers, plants, or salespeople. For this tutorial, we'll build a customer trend. Pay close attention to the description of the metrics. It describes what the values on the data screens represent. Let's set the range to display monthly totals and set the start date back 1 year from the end date. When you open a trend, the end date is always assumed to be the current date. Now we'll select Who to Trend. If you know the customer number of the company you want to trend, enter it into the first trend field. The asterisk next to the field designates that this is a required field. To create a customer trend, you must have at least one customer to trend. To see a complete list of all the customers in the system, click on the magnifying glass. To narrow the list, you can enter the first few letters of the customer name into the customer name field and click Search. ClearView has a built-in trend that gives you a reference when comparing customers, plants, and salespeople. It's labeled Average of All because it helps identify the average customer, plant, and salesperson. The value charted for the average of all is the average for all the data values reported for that metric in the time period. To include the average of all, enter AV into the name field and search for all the customers who begin with AV. Select Average of All and click OK. Let's add the ClearView test customer and Big Boy Construction so that we can compare them to the average customer. Now we need to select the performance metrics to display. There are a number of criteria to pick from. Scroll the list to find the ones you want. Pay special attention to the description. It will tell you exactly what the data points represent. You can select them individually or select them all by clicking on the Check All box. Let's look at the description of the available metrics. First, a few notes about nomenclature. MU stands for mix units. In this tutorial, we're setting the criteria for ready-mix concrete, so unless you're using metric units of measure, the MU is probably cubic yards. If we were setting the criteria for asphalt, the MU would likely be tons. It's the same for aggregates. To see the trends, click the Find button, and graphs for all the metrics you selected will appear. Using the radio buttons at the bottom of the screen, you can change the display from data values to percentages. Double-clicking on an individual metric chart will enlarge it to full screen. Right-clicking on the chart will give you the option to either view the data for this specific trend or view all the data for the metric. First, let's view the data for the gross volume chart. As with most ClearView screens, you can hide, resize, and sort columns. Let's hide some of the columns by right-clicking on the column header until we can see all the data. On this screen, the Report Date column shows the month represented by the line. From the descriptions of the metrics, we see that the Data Value column contains the number of gross units, in this case cubic yards, purchased. The Data Count is the number of orders, and the Data Percentile is the positional ranking against all others that have data in the period. For the average of all, the Data Value is the average of all customers. The Data Count is the total number of orders. For example, in November 2014, the volume for the average customer was 383.8, putting the average customer in the 57th percentile. The ClearView test customer's volume was 888, putting him at the top spot in the 100th percentile. And Big Boy Construction's volume was 333, good enough for the 50th percentile. Now let's look at all the data for the metric. Close this screen and this time select View All Data for Metric. Let's again hide a few of the columns. This screen is a good example of how the percentile is calculated. We can see that there were 5 customers ticketed in October of 2015. Those 5 customers make up 100% of the total volume for the month of October. If we say that the customer with the most volume is at the top percentile, or 100%, then the customer with the least volume is at the bottom, or 0%. The rest of the customers are evenly spaced between 0 and 100. You can see that on this screen. They are 25 percentage points apart. The actual number of yards doesn't matter. They are simply ranked where they fall in the total percentage-wise. You can sort the columns by clicking on the headers or export the report to Excel by right-clicking in the field. To exit the data screen, click Close. On the Trend Chart screen, return to the Setup tab. If you want to save the trend so that you can access it later, click Save. You'll be able to find it under Trends on the Navigator. When you save the trend, the next time it is opened, the end date will be assumed to be the current date. The start date is calculated using a saved offset of the number of days from the current date. For example, the trend that we built is for 1 year of monthly data. The next time you open this trend, the start date will be set to 365 days before the end or current date. This concludes our overview of creating and interpreting trends in ClearView. We'd love to hear your feedback. Contact us at www.trucktracks.com or 800-626-4561.